Setting up AWS landing zone. First, let's understand what is landing zone, why do we need it, why do organizations use it, typical components of it, and we'll see a simple example. After this one, I will go ahead and implement it in my AWS environment. What is landing zone? Before setting up any services or workloads in the cloud, be it AWS or Azure, any other cloud, we should set up an environment that provides standard foundation for deploying and managing workloads in cloud. Why this is needed? It helps organize. Why this is needed? It helps organizations to set up the accounts built in for security, governance, network, identity management, logging, and compliance. So we are making sure that all these fundamental services are built up or configured correctly so that you can launch or your resources. You can land your resources into this in your environment. If you carefully see, we are covering security, which is a fundamental or very important basic to any environment you set up. Networking is another one. Without the networking, there is no connectivity, and identity management, another important foundational service that you should need, and governance. Before you set up the environment, you should have governance for, like what resources to be deployed, what not to be deployed. All all those kind of things should be already governed. Otherwise, you might end up in building up unnecessary resources or costly resources. You should be having at least a basic governance. And logging also, you should set up an environment for logging and compliance standards, especially. Yeah, this is also very important. From the beginning itself, we are making sure that we are meeting certain compliance controls, and logging is another one. So you are making sure that whatever actions are being performed are logged from the beginning, so you would have a better control of the environment. In one liner, you can think of it as a ready-made cloud foundation on which teams can safely build applications without having to configure everything from the scratch. So we are setting up from environment so that whatever the team is going to build some services, be it um, development team or cloud engineering team or any other team, we are setting up a foundation. They don't have to work from the scratch. Why do organizations need landing zones? We already discussed establishing a secure cloud environment. We have some components of the security, and implement governance and compliance standards from the beginning, and manage AWS multiple accounts consistently, and centralized logging and monitoring, enforce security policies across accounts, provide scalable account provisioning and teams for the project. So these are the things why do organizations will go for landing zone. Now we'll see the typical components. Basically, whatever the things we discussed above, and how we are achieving them with the AWS components. The top layer is the AWS organizations. This is a central management of multiple AWS accounts. Then identity and access management, in which you have identity center, IAM identity center, and with the standard access controls, and Security controls, service control policies, SCPs, and AWS config, security hub, and guardrails. With the service control policies, we can restrict the maximum permission for IAM users. That means uh, after you setting up uh, the environment, if you want to set up a users and provide access to them, you would have a framework. Through the service control policies, you can provide a least privilege access to the people. You will be controlling their access, making sure that everyone are not having a excessive access that is more than that they need it. And next, AWS config is AWS config is a detective service that records and evaluates resource configuration. It tracks changes over time, assess against the compliance rules. So from the starting, if there is any configuration if that is misconfigured, it will be able to identify and provide the um, guidance or provide the advices on the how to fix it. And the security hub, this is a centralized detective service that aggregates and prioritizes security alerts from various AWS tools. So from here you can see if there are any security alerts, and you can act upon it. And guardrails are the high-level enterprise rules that define your organization's security and compliance baseline. Again, these are kind of rules with which you can set up a compliance baseline, that what has to be there and what has not to be there. And the next one, centralized logging, which we can use CloudTrail. It is a service that records all activity, APIs and API calls across AWS accounts. And networking, standardized VPCs, connectivity and network security configurations. And monitoring and compliance, continuous monitoring and policy enforcement. Okay, to set up a landing zone, we can use AWS Control Tower, with which you can create, manage landing zones. Control Tower automates the setup of landing zones by creating manage account, log, archive accounts, audit account, organization unit, guardrails, governance controls, and centralized identity management. Let's see setting up AWS Control Tower also. Then this is about like what is the landing zone, why organizations need it, what are typical components. Now let's see a sample typical uh, environment that can be set up. The first is AWS organization will be set up, and then security OU will be set up under that. Under that, audit account is set up, log archive account, then again next another production OU. Here security OU, and the security OU, security related components are placed, and the production OU, and here production accounts 1 to production app, or you can name it differently, and non-production account. This is a typical, but you may have different kind of structure also, just to give a glimpse of how would a typical AWS organization would be. Now I will try to implement one AWS landing zone, and with which for this I have a step-by-step guide, which I'm going to use it and try to implement complete AWS landing zone. This is a guide I have got it from the Claude AI. So in this guide, it walks through the 9 phases in order. First 2 phases, prerequisites and OU structure. And next is a control tower and identity center. Fifth to seventh, networking, security, login, and 8 to 9, infrastructure of code and final validation. Okay, let's see the first two phases. And the first phase is prerequisites and root account setup. Before deploying control tower, secure the management root account first. So this is very important. First, secure the root account before doing anything. So what action should be performed? So since root account is the most privileged identity in AWS, we should protect and make sure that it is not accessible to everyone and protected with the basic important guardrails. Right? What are the steps given here? Enable MFA on the root. Yes, it helps. Even if the password is compromised, we have another layer of security. In the real world, it is preferred to have a hardware keys. We can also call hardware keys. This root account can also be called break glass account. Only when there is an emergency, you can use it. Or you may have a different kind of break glass accounts, that depends, but this is kind of you should use only when the top level changes to be done. For all other changes, you should create a privileged role separately for each action. But here the most privileged identity in AWS should be protected and archived and used only when it is needed. That means you have to make highest level of tasks where if other privileged roles are not able to perform, then only you should bring the root account in the real world. Let's see these actions. What are the actions? Enable MFA, remove all root access keys, set up account alias, and enable IAM Access Analyzer, set billing alerts. Let's perform these actions.